Let me tell you a story that my father told me. It was told to him by his close friend, with whom he has been close since childhood. I also know him well. He wouldn't lie, not about this. And why should he? My father, like his friend, I will call him Uncle Misha, comes from a village in the remote Taiga. Everyone who lives there has been a hunter or fisherman since childhood. They boldly walk through the taiga without a compass, and some only with a knife, ready to face a bear. People like this are people who are not afraid of twitching thoughts, being alone, or any sorts of paranormal things. The story was in autumn. Rains had come, and it started to get dark early and getting colder. Uncle Misha and his friend decided to go fishing to one of the small rivers deep in the taiga. The path was not close. First, by boat along the river from the village to the forest hut. Then, on foot through the taiga with an overnight stay, and another half day to the place. This route has long been laid by grandfathers and old-timers. Halfway to the place in the taiga there was a huge old barrack where exiles lived and worked in Soviet times. Local grandfathers have long been saying that things are unclean there. They called this barrack cursed and bypass it, staying as far away from this place as possible, even preferring to spend the night under a tree rather than having that roof over their heads. Well, Uncle Misha and his friend, of course, chuckled, but the advice of the experienced elders was respected. Old hunters would not offer poor advice. They wouldn't joke about such matters or take them lightly. But this time, things turned out differently for Misha and his friend. Sunset caught them. It got dark early, it drizzled, and a strong wind blew. And so they decided that it was worth spending the night in the barracks, with a roof over their heads. It is understandable. It is relatively dry there. There are no strong drafts, and it is safe. Predators are afraid of human buildings. So they came to the barracks, lit a fire right inside, and had dinner. Everything was fine. They went to bed, while the fire was smoldering. Misha woke up in the dead of night. The darkness was such that with closed or open eyes, it was all the same. One dark hell. The fire was not burning at all, not even smoldering. He looked around, listened, and then realized that he had woken up from a loud creak. Someone or something was climbing or descending along the old vertical stairs and sniffling. Then this thing began to descend, firmly stepping on the stairs. Misha quietly felt for his friend, whispering that something was moving inside the barracks. They laid motionless for about 5 minutes as their fear grew. And then everything was quiet. Then, like a draft, a rustle went through the floorboards. Misha and his friend peered into the darkness, but nothing was visible. Then, at the same time, they felt that this something stopped in front of them and began to bore into their eyes, so piercingly that the friend couldn't take it anymore and ran outside. Misha barely came to his senses and also jumped up and ran. They ran for a long time in almost impenetrable darkness in an unknown direction. They spent the rest of the night under a bush, shaking with cold and fear, without understanding anything. They waited anxiously for the first light of dawn, and once the morning came they had to decide what to do. They did not want to leave their things, and so finally they agreed they would return to the barracks. They quietly reached the barracks and everything seemed calm. While Misha was gathering items outside the barracks, his friend went inside, looked around, and began to gather their belongings. But then, he seemed to be petrified. Misha called for him, and in that moment his friend came running out of the barracks, wide-eyed and completely pale. They both began to run away from the barracks. After they calmed down and were at a safe distance away from the barracks, they took a breath. His friend told him that while he was collecting the things, he felt a strange silence. And then someone either leaned on him or leaned on his back and coughed in his ear, and he felt the breath on the back of his head. They did not return for the rest of the things. They returned back to the boat and sailed home. They have never returned there since.